Make me wanna shout. Kick your heels up and shout. Throw your hands up and shout. Throw your hands.
Shout, they might be doing, Bills fans, but I'm not sure what they're shouting about. 2 straight losses for the Buffalo Bills, and we looked at that schedule and said, come on, 6-0, just right out there on the horizon. And then the New England Patriots, and then the Atlanta Falcons, and suddenly tied for first, but technically in second place, with New England owning the head-to-head at the moment. They'll get another chance to even that series, the Bills will. But let's talk Buffalo Bills football. It's the Manchild Show with Boy Green Digital at MC Show Digital, our YouTube channel. And, of course, like us and subscribe us. We would love for you to do that. Become part of our little growing community as we give away free stuff to subscribers. So think about that as you're moving forward. All right, let's bring in our Bills insider. We talk to him every single time we talk all things Buffalo Bills. He's the one, the only from Cover One, Anthony Prohaska. What's up, Anthony? How are you?
I'm good. How are you? How's it going?
All right. I know you're on the move, thus the blank canvas behind you, although that canvas will slowly but surely be put together.
Absolutely.
But let's talk about the not-so-blank canvas that the Buffalo Bills are. 2 straight losses. Now I'm starting to understand your paranoia. I'm getting closer to it. I'm starting to understand why nothing's a given in Buffalo Bills land. But assess the 2 losses and what kind of state are the Bills here as they, I think, very fortunately, roll into a bye week, get a chance to think this over, and maybe hopefully heal up a couple of those players.
I think from a Bills perspective, I think they're not too worried. Honestly, I'm not pleased, but I'm not too worried. The issues that they showed these past 2 weeks that caused them to lose these 2 games are the issues I thought they'd have coming into the season. So for me, it's kind of par for the course. And even with the Patriots aspect, I don't want to put this out there, but I feel like it is very reminiscent of when they lost to Miami earlier in the year, a couple of years. And I was like, Miami's got the inside track for the division. It's like, all right, let's relax. I know the Patriots schedule is easier in theory than the Bills going down the stretch, but we'll see what happens. But I think from a fan perspective, it's panic meter. Everybody wants McDermott fired. Joe Brady is the worst. After Joe Brady was a godsend and like the greatest architect of offensive football ever. It's funny how quickly those things turn. I really do think it's just a compilation of a multitude of things, like struggles with their run defense anyway. Then their interior D line is banged up. Then their second level is banged up. They already had some questions at wide receiver, and now they have multiple receivers who are hurt. And then even going into that Falcons game at 2 of those spots, Daquan Jones pops his calf during warmups. He's out. Jordan Palmer looks good to start the game. He gets hurt. He's out. They have questions at safety, which we knew kind of coming into the year. Those guys have Rapp has regressed a bit. Bishop is just up and down as he learns to play the position. So I do think they have a significant amount of questions, some potential deficiencies, vulnerabilities, even flaws, depending on how far you want to go there. But for me, a lot of those are really just par for the course, and we'll see if they can course correct or mitigate them coming out of the bye.
So with everyone slamming the panic meter, I saw some of the Cover One shows, Greg Thompson, and there's a couple other people, try to calm down the masses. So you don't think it's it's time for any of those button pressing. The Patriot fans that said all is right in the world with us back on top of the division. You're not worried about the Patriots at all. Who, by the way, just to have it out there, whatever this means, they do have the easiest schedule in the entire National Football League through the rest of the season.
Well, I think the Pats are a good team. They were my pick to be second in the division this year in the AFC East, and I thought they could legitimately push for a wild card, if not secure one. I think they have. We talked about it going into that game, 2 weeks ago at this time. I think they're well coached. I think Drake May is sweet and on the come up. I think Stephon Diggs is better than a lot of people gave him credit for. And it was really just like, okay, do they have enough at offensive line? Can they cobble things together there and be all right? But McDaniels has done well with that offense. And Drake May, again, is just playing at such a high level. And then defensively, it's really, I feel like just simple. You've got 2 really good corners who are capable of playing man at any point. You've got 2 studs up front in Christian Barmore and Milton Williams. And then you've got a bunch of good kind of role players or B players surrounding them. So I think it'll be tough for the Bills to kind of just run away with the division this year. But I still think at the end of the day, despite the fact that the Bills don't have stars or elite talent on this roster, I still do think they are the better team, and I do trust them to kind of right the ship. They've also, for what it's worth, I hate doing things like this because every season's different and every team is different. They've had these early season lulls, literally, like I think all of the past years. Like if we go back to it, they got hammered by the Texans and Ravens last year. And it was like, oh, they're 3-2. Like, this is ugly. Everything is terrible. They've had ugly losses going back. The Jags loss in London was in a string of ugly losses, and they've just managed to right the ship. I trust them to do that. My focus is still really on the playoffs and what they can be when they get there.
Talking with Anthony Prohaska, our Bills insider from at Cover One, or Cover One, at Cover One, as I'm putting in my tags all the time. I want to talk to you a little bit. Oh, and today's broadcast, by the way, brought to you by our friends at Bayberry Automotive. Integrity in everything. We'll hear a little bit more from our friends at Bayberry in just a little bit. Anthony, let me ask you about, with the trade deadline approaching, is there some move to be made by the Bills? Is there a safety out there that maybe they chase? That run defense has certainly been a bit porous. Is there somebody they could get that could maybe plug that up a little bit? Give me your thoughts on whether or not you think the Bills and Brandon Beane will be active at the trade deadline.
I think they're certainly going to try, but I think they try every deadline. I think most teams do. It's just, and you guys know, like, it's increased the past several years. You really don't see a lot of NFL trade deadline action. It's just hard. And now I think even more so with the increase in playoff spots, I think it's hard. I think more teams feel like, no, we're still in the hunt. Like, we're a game below 500, but hey, look at our schedule. We still might make it. So I think teams are a little less likely to make deals. And that was already, with deals, harder to come across anyway. But we have seen an influx the past couple of years. I think the Bills will try. I don't know what they're going to be able to get. Corner, it's really corner, safety, I think wide receiver, defensive tackle. I don't think they'll do anything, because it's really just a matter of them getting healthy and getting guys back from suspension. Once they get those guys back, I still don't like the makeup of the room. I still think the run defense is going to be an issue, but you got to dance with who brought you, and this is who they brought. So it is what it is. Safety, I think, is interesting. They could move on from Rapp pretty easily in the offseason. Then you've got Cole Bishop, still there. So it's like, okay, do you make a move for a safety opposite of Cole Bishop? I don't think they're ready to pull the plug on Bishop. And he doesn't even have a full season under his belt. That would really kind of be a death sentence for him, I think, in his development and even mentally for him. Corner is also an interesting one. I don't think Trey White has played nearly as bad as everyone is making him out to be, but I do think they need depth there, especially with what we've talked about on the show. The questions around Max Hairston, it's like, what do you mean he might not come back? And so now it's like, okay, you need a corner 3 or a corner 2. Can you get that? Can you acquire that? You're obviously not going to go for somebody high tier that's going to be your corner 2 of the future, because you've got Max Hairston that is going to be that guy for you in the future. So that's a little murky. The most realistic one, I would think, is wide receiver. And my eyes are still focused on the dudes from the Saints. If you can get Chris Olave, I think Chris Olave has been underutilized and just had an unfortunate string of luck and run there in New Orleans. I think he can be a 1 or a 2 still, depending on the team and the scheme. I would welcome him. I would welcome the speed of Rashid Shaheed from the Saints as well. But I think he's more of a 3 or a 4 that you plug in. That leads to tendency and schematic giveaway and type of deals. But in a perfect world, they trade for Jeffrey Simmons from the Titans, but I don't think that's going to happen. And then safety is a little murky as well.
All right, Anthony, one of your many talents, disguised coverage and being on this show and this Buffalo Bills enthusiast. One of your talents is interpreting Sean McDermott quotes. So I'm going to throw one up on the screen here, and you tell me what this means. He says, quote, "We'll figure things out on offense, defense, and special teams. We've got to start over and start from ground zero and figure this thing out and work our tails off to do it." And he was referencing this upcoming bye week for the Bills. They don't have a game this weekend. They have a bye week. Starting over from ground zero. What the hell is he talking about?
That is a quote about nothing, is what that is.
So the first line, throwaway. Figure things out, work our tails off to do it, very much throwaway. The quote, "We've got to start over and start from ground zero and figure," and leading into the figure this thing out, that is very interesting. The start over and start from ground zero.
Yeah.
I find that a little concerning, 1. 2, I also don't think that's possible. You can't start over and start from ground zero during the bye week. It's just 1 week. When you and this also kind of pisses me off, because if you do feel that, you know when you should start over and start from ground zero? The whole offseason. Instead of just running it back with the same type of archetypes and body types that you go through. It's what they did this year. I don't think I've said this on the show. I know I've said it on mine a bunch. Have you guys ever watched The Office?
Yes.
Yeah, of course. I love The Office.
It's very Pam telling Michael, "Don't date my mom." And then Michael goes, "You know what?
I love that scene.
I'm just going to date her harder." That's what they did. It was like, "Do you think you guys should move away from some of the archetypes you're leaning towards?" They're like, "No, we're just going to lean into them harder." That's when you start over and start from ground zero and kind of rebuild. They did not. I think that train has left the station. I think it's more just the verbiage in the moment. I do think they are going to self-scout, as they always do. I do think they're going to retool, and I do think they are aware of the vulnerabilities they have. My issue is, like, the run defense, for example, right? Mm-hmm. Nobody's really coming through that door that's going to change that, because the body types and the archetypes they have on the interior. Everybody's built to get upfield, penetrate, rush. They're not built to anchor, hold the line, and mitigate displacement. And when you play that way, that means dudes are going to get blown off the ball, or dudes are going to shoot gaps and get out of position. And to counteract that, you have to hope that guys win one-on-ones, but I don't think they have the outright talent to win one-on-one consistently. So the way you counteract all that is with more bodies in the box and more run blitzes. But that brings its own risk reward when it comes to coverage structures and what you are on the back end. And so that's my worry. Like, I think they are aware of what their vulnerabilities and deficiencies are. They just have to correct for a lot of them schematically. And I think that's tougher than just, well, these guys are coming back and we'll be fine, or we can inject this person or this thing. That's more of what you do in the offseason when it comes to free agency and the draft and all those things. So yeah, that line was definitely a little worrisome. Good pull.
There's a fascinating thing that I've been thinking about this season as I watch the Bills, especially in these last couple of games. And that is, they've been chasing the Kansas City Chiefs. We know that that's that's the elephant in the room. That's who you're trying to catch. That's who you're trying to get past to get to that next level and hopefully go capture that Super Bowl that Buffalonians deserve so much. All right. Interestingly enough, the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes, they have the great quarterback too, had to go through this time period where the weapons weren't as good, but Mahomes was still kind of carrying it in a lot of ways. Is that going to be the theme of this year for the Bills? Is it going to have to be Josh Allen carrying this team unless the Bills go out and get him some serious help?
I don't necessarily think so, because their run game is very good and James Cook is very good. And I do think when in doubt, they can lean into the run a little bit more. Obviously, you don't want to run Cook into the ground in the regular season to the point that come playoff time, he's a bag of dust. But I do think they have other options on the offense, and I do think they can win schematically enough. It is going to come down to Josh Allen, I think, for a lot of this, as most things do with this team. But I think it's more of him making the right decisions at the right times. There have been, I think, especially from a fan perspective, anytime Allen struggles, a lot of it is like, well, it's because they didn't get him the right weapons, or because Brady's not calling the right stuff. And sometimes that's not the case. It's just on Josh Allen. His eyes are in the wrong place, or he's getting a little skittish in the pocket and he bails from the pocket when he doesn't necessarily have to. And I think it's really just going to come down to Allen, again, tempering the ups and downs. I think when the run game, that's why why the run game is so important for the Bills. Not only is the run more important in today's NFL, but it also calms and stabilizes Josh Allen. When you put everything onto Allen's shoulders, you can have moments like the end of the Ravens game where it's like, wow, dude is firing on all cylinders. Or you could have moments like the Falcons game where he throws a pick at the end of the first half on a ball that he should not have thrown, or he starts bailing from the pocket. When he starts to feel like everything is on him, then you can either get Superman, bust out the cape, mutant, alien, unicorn Josh Allen, or you still get a little bit of that, dude, what the hell are you doing, Josh Allen? It's that, I used to call it the yin and the yang of Josh Allen. And it would swing one way and swing the other. And it was a matter of just how much could you live in the light and not let the darkness come out. And I think they're going to get some of that this year, depending on how much of the injuries kind of impact that receiving room. And I don't think the pass is how this offense flows, but they have to do enough vertically on the outside to make teams not just load the box and only care about the run. And if they do that, more goes onto the plate of Allen.
It's the Manchild Show with Boy Green Digital, talking Bills football with our insider, all things Bills from Cover One, Anthony Prohaska. Today's broadcast brought to you by our friends at Bayberry Automotive. Let's just take 30 seconds to learn a little bit more about our friends from Bayberry.
Integrity is a word that some people just throw around in life. But at Bayberry Automotive, integrity is everything. Integrity of their mechanics, who are all experienced and certified. Integrity in the work they perform, with nothing but 5-star reviews from satisfied customers on Google. Integrity that goes along with family, a family-run business that treats you like one of their own. Integrity in everything. Bayberry Automotive. BayberryAutomotive.com.
Located on Route 57 across from Bayberry Plaza, the premier choice for auto repair in Liverpool.
Well, Anthony Prohaska, I mentioned at the top of this, I mean, how well-timed is this bye for the Bills? Is this a good week for the Bills to be getting their bye? I know it's somewhat early in the season, but with the injuries, it might seem like it's well-timed and coming off of 2 losses. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, initially I hated it. I hate early buys. I like late buys as much as possible. But yeah, considering they're kind of limping into this literally and figuratively, I think it helps, especially with I'm never one to overlook any team. I don't care who they are, what their record is, what they look like at any point. Part of my paranoia, but also just with everybody in the NFL. I don't care how bad someone is. Everybody in the NFL is usually good at football. And
yeah,
that's right. So I'm not overlooking Carolina, but knowing that you have the Chiefs coming up in a couple weeks and how they've shocking that they've kind of righted the ship a little bit after everybody was like, they're done, they suck. And I was like, shut up. No, they're like, what are we doing? So shocking that they've kind of righted the ship. The Bills having those 2 losses. Now, if you lose to Kansas City, they own the tiebreaker over you. How that kind of plays into one another. So I do think it's helpful from the perspective of righting the ship a little bit now, also getting a little bit healthier, and kind of course correcting things a bit, knowing Kansas City's coming up. I think that game has taken on even more importance than it already had.
All right, Anthony, I'm going to give you a thing. I'm going to give you a factoid, and you tell me whether it's good or bad.
Uh-oh.
Dalton Kincaid leads the Buffalo Bills in receiving yards. Is that good or bad?
Good. I think it ties into the type of offense that they are. He should be the tip of the spear in the offense. And from the pass game perspective, they are condensed formations, alignment, heavier personnel, 12 personnel, 13 personnel, 21, 22. That's who they want to be. They are not built to have the offense, even the pass game, flow through their wide receivers. The wide receivers are very much the supporting cast when it comes to the pass game, because they're not built to go spread and chuck it around 30 to 40 times a game. So when you do that, you better have some tight ends that can be mismatch creators in the pass game, can win on crossers, can win deep, are good route runners, are good athletes. And I think that's where Dalton Kincaid is. And so you put, again, he's not the best blocker, so that changes some of the menu you can access a little bit when you go into these personnel groupings, but he should be the tip of the spear for this pass game. I thought he would be the tip of the spear last year, and then he just got banged up a bunch. So I think, yeah, him being that is very much in line with who they are and what they are, similar to kind of much different offense, but the Ravens for like the past really several years in Lamar's tenure, like Mark Andrews was the number 1 receiver on those Ravens teams, and they were a juggernaut. I think that's very, again, different, but similar idea in vein with Kincaid.
Yeah, now I don't know what weapon you would describe Keon Coleman as. Is he a hatchet? Is he a crossbow, perhaps? But it's been ineffective nonetheless. Coming off a game where he had 3 catches for 11 yards against the Falcons, only 4 catches for 23 yards against the New England Patriots. Like, he's a guy that a lot of Bills fans told me, move over. He's the guy that's going to be eating up and making things happen. And it's been wildly inconsistent this season here, Anthony, as it seems.
I think there's way too much hyperbole with everything around Keon Coleman. When he was drafted, you pretty much had 2 schools of thought for most fans. It was, oh my God, this dude, he's so green and so raw. Look at his ceiling. He's going to be awesome. And then the other people were like, look at his floor. He sucks. He's never going to be anything. And that's largely where the conversation stands now. I think he's been much improved this year versus last year. The stats just aren't reflecting it. I posted even some clips yesterday on Twitter and Blue Sky. His release packages have improved. His stem work has improved. He's winning at the line. He's winning in his stems. The ball just isn't necessarily getting his way. And the Falcons game was a good example. He had a couple really good wins, but when he turns out of his break, Allen is already running for his life because the pressure package from the Falcons did such a good job making him feel like he was getting heated up, whether he was or he actually wasn't. So I don't think the raw stats are necessarily the way to measure. I know this is maybe a stupid thing to say for some, but I don't think the raw stats are necessarily indicative of what he is. Same thing for any receiver. You could look at someone and be like, he had 0 targets and 0 catches. He sucks. How do you know he's not winning on his route every time, but the quarterback's going somewhere else, or the pressure forces him away from someone else or from that guy or from that side of the field?
Yeah.
So I think very much for him, it goes back to what he was initially coming out for me, which was a project. Like if you thought, and I said this yesterday, the biggest issue with Keon Coleman is he went to a team with Super Bowl aspirations that needed him to contribute at the top of the depth chart almost right away. That's not the type of player he is. He's a project. You're not going to know what or who he is until year 3, year 4. So he needed to go to a team where he was going to be wide receiver 3 or utilize in a specialized role and develop and build. Instead, he went to the Bills, where more was needed from him right away last year, and he got hurt. So he's a project who has to play more demanding snaps in a demanding role, and he doesn't even have a full season under his belt, and he doesn't have the time on task. And then when he came back, he was playing banged up and couldn't really get, fully into stride in what he needed to do. So I think there's a lot of variables and factors that go into it, and it all comes down to him still being a project. Is he a solid, consistent receiver right now? No. But I didn't expect him to be that. But I do think he is better than a lot of fans are giving him credit for.
So a project a bit behind schedule. That leads me right to my next question, Anthony, and that is the project going on in Buffalo, and that is that brand new stadium that this team is expected to be playing in next season. A decision made, and a big one this past week. Grass will be the surface. It will not be artificial turf. They are going to go with natural grass. How much of a buzz is that given Buffalo Bills fans?
Oh, some fans recognize the importance of it. I'm super pumped. Like, speaking for myself, there are two things I like. One, from a logistics standpoint, natural grass, usually less injuries. There's more cushion. There's less like cleats getting stuck into the turf and causing ankle issues, knee issues. You don't get that stickiness and the problem that results for some things. So I'm excited from an injury standpoint. The big one for me, I say this all the time, there's just something about when the weather starts to turn in October and November and December in playoff football, there's just something that hits different when there's natural grass and it's cold out and it starts to brown a little, or you see the dirt on the jerseys. Even this past Monday night, it's rainy a little in Washington, and you're seeing the Bears and Commanders getting a little dirty. DeAndre Swift's jersey is all dirty. Like, it just feels more like football. I am very and sincerely excited from, in theory, less injuries happening, but two, the aesthetics of what football will look like on that field. I like seeing in the fourth quarter, like, oh, guys' jerseys are dirty and muddy, instead of just being like, oh, we play on turf, so everybody's jerseys are clean, and you can't tell if it's the first snap of the game or the last.
Yeah. And let me just follow up on this, Paul. On top of that, okay, so decision made, and this is a very exciting time, getting ready to go into a new stadium. And then there's that kind of melancholy wave goodbye moment, and the Bills are actually commemorating that. I was doing some reading up this morning. They're having a rally day on November the 15th for fans to come into the current stadium, aka soon to be the old stadium, and kind of celebrate the moments that have happened in that stadium. How important is that old stadium to the Buffalo Bills fan? Bring us into that world.
I do think it holds significance. You even had, in talking to some like family and friends, the loss to the Patriots was less of like, oh, now like they gain a game on us. It's a head-to-head loss. It was more of like, that's the last game in that stadium against the Patriots and they lost, or they came out and they looked like this, blah, blah, blah. Like, I think there is for a lot of the fan base, like, this is the last this game. This is the last time we'll face this team. This is the last primetime game. This is the last this. And it holds
there's
a lot
of awareness for sure.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely. There is an awareness. And I think there's a lot of excitement for the new stadium, 1000%. But I think now that the season's here and we're going week to week, I think it has turned a little more into the awareness of, oh man, that means this stadium is done. And for a lot of people, this is where all of their memories were formed, like the Bills and their runs. You had the rock pile back in the day and all the AFL championships that happened. But for the majority of, I think, Bills fans, it was Rich Stadium, and then it was Ralph Wilson Stadium, and now it's Highmark Stadium. But whatever they've named it, this is where you formed your Bills memories. This is where the Bills became a team for you. This is where they were for all those games that kind of jettisoned them on the national stage when it came to the Super Bowl run. So it is a very, I think, momentous place, and a place that is really kind of in the hearts of a lot of Bills fans. And now that it's starting to go away a little bit, I think you're starting to feel the nostalgia and the melancholy, like you mentioned, now that time is kind of coming to an end.
All right, let's go on defense here. The Bills don't have a single defender that has more than 2 sacks this season. And I know these are raw numbers. Like, Cole Bishop has as many sacks as Joey Bosa does, with 2 apiece. Like, what the hell is going on there for the Buffalo Bills pass rush department? Anthony Prohaska.
They've generated a good amount of pressure. I don't think their pass rush is necessarily in line with their pressure numbers. Like they've been a top 10 pressure team for a majority of the year. I don't really feel that on tape. And some of that has been Greg Rousseau has been banged up, and as he's gotten healthier, he's gotten better. I think Bosa has played well, but a lot of their pass rushers on the interior have been guys that have been banged up. Ed Oliver, played week 1 and then missed all the games until this past week against Atlanta. TJ Sanders has been banged up the past several weeks and has been out. Larry Ogunjobi has been suspended for the first 6 games. So their interior rush has really, really suffered. And then Rousseau's been banged up. Michael Hoyt has been suspended. So I think for me, there's still questions on the pass rush. I still don't think even if the numbers say they're a top 10 unit, I don't necessarily buy it. Similarly, when some of the metrics showed like, oh, Von Miller's like a top 10 edge rusher last year. And I was like, that's not true. Like, that's not what the film shows. Like, I don't care. I hate saying this, but I'm like, I don't care what the metrics say on that. There's certain things where I know, numbers don't lie. Yes, they do. So I think there's still questions on the pass rush. I think they still need to do work on getting home. I think it's more important of them just connecting the rush with the coverage. The Falcons game was a good example. They had a couple of really great rushes from Bosa and Rousseau that heated up Penix, and then guys were wide open on the back end for him to just chuck it and get out of that pressure from that turning into a sack. So I still do think there's questions up front, but as they get healthier and get guys back from suspension, we'll maybe see a little bit of their final form and what they can really be.
All right, well, look, you could put your feet up on the Barca Lounger and relax a little bit this week. But when the Bills come back, as you mentioned it, the next 3 games at Carolina, Kansas City, in Buffalo, and then at Miami. What do the Bills have to do coming out of the chute here, coming out of the bye? That they got to get at least 2 of those 3? Did they really need that game against the Chiefs to, deal a little supremacy there? Give them a taste of what this is going to be like later when hopefully these teams meet in the playoffs. Give me your thoughts on those 3 games and what the Bills need to do.
I think they need to win each 3 or all of them. Like, and I'm not even just saying like, oh, they got to win. Ha ha ha. Like, I think they do need to win. You have to come out in an ideal world. You come out and you piss pound Carolina and cool, state yourself. We righted the ship, take care of business. It starts with stopping the run, making the game half the force through Bryce Young. But how do you deal with Jalen Coker on the outside? Depending on where they align Coker, how do you deal with Tet McMillan, who I think is very, very fun as a wide receiver 1 and a rookie out there in Carolina. But you should come out and you should wreck Carolina. You got to come home. You beat Kansas City. I don't care how ugly it is. I don't care how pretty it is. A win is a win at that point. Get out of that game against Kansas City. And then you have to beat Miami in Miami, which is tougher than it sounds. So I think you have to come out and win all 3, especially because I don't want to say it's a gauntlet, but then those games after, home against Tampa, I always thought was going to be tough. I still think it's going to be tough. I know what Houston's record says. Houston is a great foil for the Bills, especially defensively, because guess what they got? Really good athletic corners that they can play single high coverage with and lock the Bills receivers down. And you know what they also pair with? Some of the nastiest edge rushers in football. So Houston, I think, is going to be a tough game. I know Pittsburgh for some is kind of a laughing stock and and they're a paper tiger. That game in Pittsburgh, I think it could be a little tougher. Cincinnati, we'll see who and what they are by December 7th. And then you have that game against New England. So I think really Tampa, Houston, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, New England, even with how good Cleveland's defense is after that. And then you have Philly. I know I'm going through the whole schedule here. I think once Tampa hits, things start to get a little muddy and murky. So you have to come out of the chute from the bye and establish yourself, right the ship. You get to 7-2. One of those wins is against Kansas City. Build some momentum for yourself, for the team, the players, yada, yada, and you go forward from there. You have to get all 3.
All right, Anthony, my final one here is this. So the Bills took Landon Jackson in the 3rd round, and he's been a healthy scratch for a lot of the games this season. And there's a lot of Bills fans complaining that they could have taken a safety in the 3rd round, something that would have been more immediate to help their needs now. How do you respond to those criticisms?
Yeah, they could have. I mean, I also didn't like the Landon Jackson pick, so I recognize the value for folks where it was like, and I even understand that a little myself of where he was projected and the experience that he had, you getting him in the 3rd round. It's like, oh, okay. I just didn't like his traits and his makeup and his body type. I thought like he's a very high cut player and he plays very stiff, and that's very worrisome to me. But I've also had a lot of picks for them over the past years that, I didn't like the Cole Bishop pick for them, especially at that point in the 2nd round. I would have gone elsewhere. Or if they had to go with a safety, I would have gone with a different safety. So I think you can do that dance in that game a ton for anyone, for any draft year. But I also think like kind of doing it now, who knows what Landon Jackson's going to be, positively or negatively. Like, he could end up being the best edge rusher of all time. He could be out of the league in a year. Like, we have no idea. Like, you can't judge concrete on rookies who are into their rookie year. I do think it's a little concerning that, he's been a healthy scratch each week. And then when he's been out there, you're not really noticing him, which I guess you could play devil's advocate and say, oh, because he's not making mistakes. Maybe that's good. But I do think that's fair, especially when you see other rookies. For the Bills, it's really like a lot of Bills fans wanted Xavier Watts, the safety from Notre Dame, who ironically went to the Falcons. And he's been playing really good. And the Bills safeties have not been good. So, but you're also going to get that a ton with anything. Like, anytime Xavier Worthy makes one catch, all Bills fans are like, see, he's amazing. Keon sucks. I can't believe we took Keon. Anytime Lad McConkey catches a pass, you could add Lad. Keon sucks. Can't believe we did this. Like, but they're not doing that when Keon catches that touchdown against Baltimore, or he has that huge 3rd or 4th down catch on Carlton Davis against the Pats. They're not saying, oh, see, we didn't need Worthy. It's a lot of hindsight and just frustration piling up. And what's I always laughing so far?
I don't know. You just have a lot more juice, Anthony, than I think you've had. And maybe it's the losing streak. I don't know.
It's the move. The move has
see.
me all. I am just wired to the gills at all.
Oh, this
times.
Is great. There's more mustard on your sandwich than we've had previously. And
That's
I love
what's going to happen because I'm doing the day job stuff. I'm doing pod stuff. I got the move. All these things are happening. So I'm just like everything. I'm on high alert. Just everything is popping. And it's also, I think, for me too, a little I get frustrated when everybody gets not frustrated, but the swing of emotions of things especially for me, like a lot of my work is all film based. So, and I use the advanced metrics to put the whole piece together. So, but when the Bills start losing, it's really like, here's some advanced metrics on a guy. Here's a bunch of film backing that up. And then I still get the people that are coming to like, no, you're wrong. He sucks. And I'm like, okay, got it. Or no, this isn't true.
And it's just going to ram the touchy-feely down your throat.
That's exactly it. But you get that positively too, where like a guy out there like, oh, look how good he was on this play. Deion Walker's a good example. People are talking about how Deion Walker has arrived and he's this monster because he had these 4 run stops. What about the first 3 quarters when he was getting blown off the ball and just washed down the line? We're not going to talk about that. So just a lot of the confirmation bias coming out and the picky, choosy nature and the cherry picking. And it all comes to a head. And I just find you get so much of it when they start losing. And a lot of it I find funny. But yeah, I'm definitely on high alert with everything that is going on in my life.
I'll tell you what I was laughing about. What I'm laughing about is you look at the 3 of us in this room, okay? You got a Giants fan, a Jets fan in the middle, and a Bills guy over there to the right. And the plights are all different for all the franchises, even in the moment. But even if you go through the history of it, the plights are different. But in the moment, it's remarkable. You're following a team that has incredible expectations, Anthony, that, you're trying to win that first Super Bowl for that town. That city and all that's on the table. And it's been a team moving in the right direction for quite a while. And the question is it going to flame out at some point, or are they going to get to that promised land and get a swing here, at the piñata? You got the guy in the middle here who, his team has gone through rebuild after rebuild, and they're, right now a winless team and in so much dire trouble. And they're talking about selling off the whole farm and starting all over again. And then you got me over here, the Giants who, they've won championships in the past and there's been glory days, but we haven't had glory in a long time. Now there's this kind of hope with these 2 guys, these 2, rookies that were drafted this year, one a quarterback, one a running back. They've created a new attitude, and there's this kind of brim of hope, kind of like, well, maybe we could be something, maybe if not right now, down the road. And it's just amazing the juxtaposition of the 3 of us and the seats that we sit in, and yet the complaints are the same.
Absolutely.
On that, good. We should have drafted him. Bro, it's the same with all the fan bases. It's just fun.
I got a good one for you, Jim. You're spot on with that, and I got something that goes even more. We talked last week, the end of the episode. We talked about state of the Giants and Dable and things going. I got one for you. I got comments this week of Bill should have fired McDermott and kept Dable. They should have never gotten rid of Dable. And I was like, wow. Dable's been on the hot seat for a season and a half. Giants fans are calling for his head. And that's where we're at. Is like, it's just, that's again, how funny the grass is always greener on the other side. I just remember that now as you were speaking. Yeah. Just think about that. Like we were talking about, is it time for Dable to go? Is it Dable and Shane? Is it both? Is it none? Like, what is it? Giants fans have been ripping Dable for years. And there's Bills fans that are like, Dable was the guy. The offense was great. Should have gotten rid of McDermott instead. Yeah, that's just sports, man.
Hey, last one, since you brought this up, it just popped into my head. The incident that happened in the Giants game with Dable and Scadaboo going
The blue
into
medical
the tent,
tent.
okay,
Yeah.
or one going into the tent, one yelling at the doctor, okay. Have you ever seen anything like that on a sideline? Have you ever seen anything like that in a game where there was, interference? I think we have seen in the past. I can't remember which coach, which particular team, but I know we've seen in the past the doctor and the coach kind of
Yes.
bickering. We've seen that before 100%. Brian Dable is not the first to go over to the team doctor and say, come on, doc, get him out there, or whatever, and say it to him. All right. Going into the tent, that might have crossed the line, and I'm a little bit worried, frankly, as a Giants fan, of what that penalty is going to be from the NFL, and why is it taking so long? That makes me worry even more. Could draft picks or something even be involved in this? Are they going to hit the Giants really, really hard to show the whole league? No, you don't do this. But have you ever seen anything like that? And then maybe you can give a quick take on that.
Not going into the tent, no. I think you're spot on with, like, I've seen, coaches talking to the team doctor in general, but also kind of situations where they're a little more demonstrative and being like kind of non-verbally being like, I need him to get back out there. So can you get him back out there, please? And thank you. I've never seen anyone go into the tent. I don't think I've seen that, especially since, and again, I know the tent hasn't been around for 30 years, but usually you don't see that at all. The head coach is out there being the head coach. The most I've ever seen a coach get involved with the medical staff and a guy injured is when they go down on the field, and then depending on who it is, the head coach goes out there and stands over, and they're all kind of crowded around. No, I've never seen a coach go in the tent. When he went into the tent, I literally was like, he went into the tent. I was like, you can't do that. He went to the tent.
I think the Giants defense, when they go before the judge or whoever it is that is going to be interviewing them about this, is going to be, that guy's nuts. We don't know anything. That guy's crazy. We can't control that guy. Have you seen him? He's crazy. He thinks he's a combination of Ric Flair, a football player, and I don't know, something else, a YouTube star. That guy's cuckoo bird. He's cuckoo. Scadaboo, the name fits. That name is perfect for that guy. Scadaboo. Cuckoo.
Yeah. He's he's a character, man. He plays 1,000 miles an hour, 1,000% of the time. I hope he slows down a little bit so he can have a longer career instead of just trying to run through brick walls all the time. But it's sure as heck entertaining, and the Giants are getting wins out of it. So who am I to judge?
We'd all to judge. Anthony Prohaska, as always, an entertaining conversation. Thank you, my friend. We'll talk to you again next week.
Thank you for having me. Enjoy your day.